I place these arbitrary deadlines on myself that I continuously fail to meet, or I have to stay up really late one night trying to meet this. Then what happens is the next day, after getting basically no sleep, I'm exhausted. I do this to myself over and over and over. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Make sure to hit that like button. Also, subscribe down below. We also have a pretty fast growing Discord community. It's over 100 members at this point. We just started it last week, so feel free to join there and also introduce yourself in the Introduce Yourself channel. So let's talk a little bit about burnout. I took the past 2 weeks off to really think about why I've been burnt out, and I just needed a break from YouTube. I was relying on the stats way too much and comparing myself to a lot of other people, which is a whole different issue, probably a different video in itself. But I had a lot of time to think and try to figure out why I've been feeling overwhelmed and a little bit burnt out. So I've talked to some other people about this, and I've kind of realized some similarities in that we place a lot of arbitrary deadlines on ourselves to get things done by certain dates or certain days, and it just isn't really realistic. I think a lot of this really comes from the school system and the way that schools and colleges are set up, in that you have homework and tests due by a certain date, but at the end of the day in the working world, yes, you have deadlines, but they're also a little bit more flexible and realistic. By applying a lot of this pressure to myself, I've actually driven myself completely insane to the point where I burn out and then I take days off, and that's totally counterproductive. I feel like I've wasted a lot of time by overextending myself for a certain amount of time, losing sleep, then snowballing. So what I've found is that I place these arbitrary deadlines on myself that I continuously fail to meet, or I have to stay up really late one night trying to meet this. Then what happens is the next day, after getting basically no sleep, I'm exhausted, I go into work, I can't focus all day. Then when I get home at night, I try to go to the gym, and I honestly have no energy at all to even put into a workout. And after that, I kind of beat myself up for it, and then I go back home. Once I'm home, I try to do even more work, and I'm totally exhausted, just not productive. Then I'm trying to make up for the previous day. I go to bed late again. And this is the snowball effect that happens. Pretty much after this, I go into a little bit of depression because I've totally failed my arbitrary goals and deadlines and whatever else I've set on myself. Then the next day, I have to go home and take a nap after a full day of not being productive. At this point, it's pretty much just rinse and repeat until I get super depressed and burnt out. What I've pretty much realized is over the past 24 years of my life, I've tried to make these elaborate contracts and force them into my life, forcing me to try to get things done by a certain date and beating myself up if I don't complete them. And it kind of hit me this week that it's not productive at all, because if you take this over the long term, I'm basically losing days being depressed and burnt out and feeling horrible. That's not a great way to live life. I thought about this a lot this past week, and I think what I'm going to do is do a 30-day challenge of a completely different framework around how I live my life. These are the new rules that I've made, and in the next 30 days, I want to do an update on if this improved my life or not. So the first main thing is stay focused on the things that matter. I feel like I've tried a million different things, and I try to place all these deadlines on these million different things. It's basically me tripping over myself and never getting anything productive done because I'm trying so many things. So I'm choosing just a few things to focus on the next month. And basically, number 1, that's work. Number 2, that's going to the gym and eating healthy. Number 3, that's learning how to code outside of work and learning specific technologies that are also transferable. And number 4 is doing YouTube. And those are the only 4 things I'm going to focus on, as well as a little bit of social life in there as well. Number 2 is using my time more effectively by not laying down in bed when I get home, because I find that I waste a lot of time when I do that, especially going on my phone and being locked on my phone forever. I think that placing my phone away from my bed and having a specific spot in my room, whenever I walk in the room, I put my phone in this one specific place, never remove it. Wrap up by a certain time of the day, no matter what you've accomplished, and be proud of it. So my goal is at midnight, every single night, I am done with everything. All work, it's done. I'm not staying up past that time, because I found when I stay up past that time, the next morning I wake up really late, I'm rushed in the morning, it just sets a really bad tone for the day, and then everything is kind of a snowball from there of not being productive. Number 4 is getting enough sleep. So every morning, my goal is to wake up around 7:30. I've done a lot of testing in the past and found that my body really wants 7.5 hours of sleep. That is pretty much the optimal amount of time of sleep. So I'm going to train my body from every night to go to bed at midnight and every morning to wake up at 7:30. I'm also going to improve my sleep. I bought a night mask, I bought earplugs, and I bought a white noise machine to try to drown out all ambient noise in the city. I live in San Francisco. It can get pretty loud here, especially with the street sweepers outside in the middle of the night. So I bought earplugs and a white noise machine to drown it all out. Number 5 is focusing on consistency and remembering every day that it's slow and steady and that it's a marathon. I think rushing to do a million things is not the best way to go about things, especially because you start tripping over yourself and then eventually you fall off completely. I think consistency with anything is key. And having that, it's one of the most important ingredients of success. When I look back to anything that I've accomplished in life, it's always come down to consistency. When I learned how to code, switched careers, became a software engineer, that was basically consistent practice every day. When I lost 20 pounds, went to the gym, ate healthy, that was consistency with both exercise and eating. Now my goal is with improving to learn how to code. It's going to be consistently taking courses a little bit day by day. Also with this YouTube channel, I want to put out a few videos a week, which basically means being more consistent and also focusing less on things that don't matter, like trying to over-edit. Over the past few weeks, I've been trying to say things that I'm grateful for when I wake up and really think about them, and also when I go to bed. This really helps me recenter some of my crazy thoughts and especially all the ridiculous comparison that I've brought myself to in this world, whether it's other people who have a better salary than I do or other people who have more YouTube subscribers. I think that's a total waste of time to focus on when I could just focus on being grateful for what I've done. And I also think a huge reminder is just being grateful that I have a roof over my head, that I have enough food to eat, and that I also have a warm place to sleep, because most of the world does not have that. And I think living here in Silicon Valley, everything is so skewed. We compare ourselves on the most horrible things, and especially with social media and a million things vying for our attention, there's so much comparison, and it's all ridiculous. It's not even needed. So to wrap this up, I'm going to try a 30-day challenge on completely changing the way that I go about living my life. It only took me 24 years to realize that what I'm doing now is not working and that I need to try something new. I think the only way to really learn this is to just keep trying different things, but I think it's time to totally flip the switch and really focus on getting enough rest, not putting these ridiculous contracts on myself. If you're feeling this too, I totally encourage you to try out something different as well, whatever works for you. At the end of the day, I don't want to live in a continuous state of burnout and depression that happens over and over and over. I think the snowball effect is pretty destructive and it doesn't have to be this way. If you like this video, hit that like button. Also subscribe down below. I'm going to be putting out videos on a much more consistent basis.